Were you ever that 1 in 1 million? If so, what's your story? I am a 19-year-old male. In August of last year, I was driving with my sister when suddenly her face turned cold. "Gavin, your eyes are yellow," I remember her saying. I quickly pulled down the passenger's mirror, and to my horror, two yellow eyes radiated back at me. Fast forward, I spent a month being sick. The initial diagnosis was hepatitis A. Went back to the doctor. Nothing was better. Things were worse, in fact. Was sent to the ER, then to the liver transplant unit at UCSF. By this point, my eyes had turned muddy orange, and my pee was the color of a mahogany tree. Anyways, the team of liver doctors at UCSF managed to save my liver. I was diagnosed with autoimmune hepatitis. Oh, and my eyes are white again. For my 7th birthday, we went to Disneyland. They just happened to be having a car a day giveaway. When we were there, for my 7th birthday, Mickey Mouse gave me a Pontiac Firebird. When I was a kid, I was chilling in the water of the Mediterranean Sea in Turkey. Suddenly, I felt an awful burning sensation on my stomach and my legs. I looked like I had been brutally sandpapered, and I got a 40 degrees fever. Turns out I made contact with a jellyfish, and later found out that it hadn't happened on that beach for 10 years or so. I was just extremely unlucky. I slept wrong one night and pinched a nerve in my neck so severely I lost the right side of my body. It just went silent like it wasn't there for months. I woke up in the worst pain I've ever experienced and couldn't talk, move, or do anything. The ER doctor thought I was having a stroke. My doctor had never seen a case as severe as mine, and it was purely a freak accident. Recovery took months, but I have use of my leg and hand again with some numbness. Other than pain and spasms, I'm mostly back to normal. I was struck by lightning while talking on a landline. This was in the early 90s. Lightning struck the telephone line and traveled through the handset to my ear. My parents drove me to the ER. I couldn't talk very well. My brain knew what I wanted to say, but my mouth didn't want to say it. I had a terrible stutter. My doctor told me that I had had a dose of good old-fashioned electroshock therapy. My speech was normal the next day, but I get a terrible headache whenever a thunderstorm comes through. I am allergic to the cold, like literally, I get intense hives, swelling, I pass out, and throw up. Doesn't even have to be freezing below 45 degrees without a jacket, and I can't do it. I have to carry an EpiPen with me in the event that I drink something too cold or have a severe reaction. Not quite 1 in a million, but close enough. As a child, I had an extremely rare autoimmune disease. On top of having an extremely rare illness, I developed the rarer and most dangerous of the symptoms. My kidneys started shutting down. Most kids recover from this disease, but not always the ones with kidney issues. I was extremely lucky. I did not have to go on dialysis, and my kidneys eventually reached normal functioning levels. It took a decade to be completely cleared of the disease. My mother likes to call me a miracle child, not only because of this, but because she was not supposed to be able to have a kid due to health issues, and had several miscarriages before my stubborn ass decided to be born. Weird stuff. I have symmetric bilateral coloboma of the iris and retina. Essentially, my pupils are shaped like keyholes instead of circles. A single coloboma is pretty rare. Double coloboma is even more rare. And double symmetrical? Well, you get it. This is my mom's story, and I've posted it before, but she once called her friend back in the day on the landline and another lady answered. My mom asks if her friend was there and the lady says sure, I'll get her. My mom's friend hops on the phone and asks how did she know she was there. Turns out my mom got a number wrong when dialing. Called a random house where someone was hosting a Tupperware party, and my mom's friend just happened to be attending it. What are the odds? I was diagnosed with a rare cancer that happens in males more often than females. Usually happens to patients between 45 and 60, and happens in the abdomen or legs. I was a 34-year-old female, and it happened in my right arm, for the record him in remission. But I couldn't believe I defied everything about the stupid ducker. Got into a car accident where my truck took out to power poles. Flipped a few times, I was ejected from the vehicle, and it landed on top of me. I had hypothermia when they found me and airlifted me to the hospital. No major injuries other than a severe concussion and some minor internal contusions. I have no recollection of the incident because of the concussion. Not sure if my story counts. But hey, I'm alive. I was on Tinder and was talking to this guy. He was supposed to meet me for dinner. I texted him and no answer. Then I texted him on Tinder. Said that he couldn't make it. However, I got a text back from the number. It wasn't the guy that I thought I texted. It was the actor Gerard Butler. I thought he was lying until he FaceTimed me. Nice guy. Blizzard gave me Overwatch for free for no reason. So that probably counts. I'm a test tube baby and so is my fraternal twin, so yes. My younger brother is also a test tube baby. My ex was struck by lightning several times and lived. Died in a car accident though, so not as lucky as he claimed to be. I was kidnapped when leaving work and held for 18 months. Along with 2 other girls, the guy who took us claimed himself to be an ineffable lower god and used cult tactics, manipulation and control to have us be his family. I was allowed to leave to the grocery store as an errand, but knew if I didn't come back the others would receive my punishment. I finally got away by stabbing my captor when I believed he was going to kill me. Uterus ruptured into my bladder after birth of my youngest. It was 1/4 in, away from a major artery. Nearly died. Got a rare but potentially deadly rash from a medication. I laughed when I first saw the bottle with the warning, and said knowing my luck I'd get it. I did. Ended up in a burn unit with my skin sloughing off. Not a fun week. I had 8 wisdom teeth. The dentist had never seen anything like it and called the whole office in to marvel at my teeth. I once guessed a 6-digit random combination on the first try. It was the only try I planned to give, as a kind of scratch pad whatever moment. I was actually homeless for 4 years between 19 and 23 years old. As silly as it sounds, I used to earn some extra money at the time by helping round in a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. It was my biggest hobby when I was younger and was something I felt confident about. I also didn't have a passport or a bank account, so I couldn't get a normal job. Anyway, so at the time I was stuck not earning enough money. Without a passport, a bank account, or a real job. In the UK, you won't get hired by 99% of companies if you don't have a passport to prove you have the right to work. So one day, I got a phone call from a studio asking if I played Yu-Gi-Oh! And would consider myself a geek. Also, if I wanted to be in a TV show, they said they would send me to another country as part of it. Being homeless, the biggest problems is being bored. So naturally I said yes, but told them I don't have a passport. No problem. We'll get you one straight away and pay for it ourselves. I ended up on a show called Geeks that you can still watch on Channel 4 OD. Because I got this passport, I was finally able to get a job, a bank account, and finally a house. Now I'm looking after my 10-month-old daughter who's playing while I type this. So Yu-Gi-Oh saved me from being homeless. I might be in anime characters. Bought $3 worth of Pong balls at one of those games at the state fair. I think it was 10 balls. And the grand prize is in the middle and you have to land it in a small glass container. I was having fun and just decided to throw it by flicking my wrist. In a weird way, it bounced round for a while and landed right in the red glass container, which was the grand prize. Even the worker was surprised that I got it. Had to walk around the state fair with a giant Charmander plush toy after that. I have the rarest type of synesthesia, lexical gustatory. It means I taste words. I've got the middle toes on both feet webbed. So did Stalin. Quack. The first one I don't know about the exact odds, But I was born on the 7th of July 77 and weighed 7 pounds and 7 ounces. Sadly, though, I clocked in at 6:50 a.m. The other is that around the age of 14, I started to notice the outsides of both of my feet starting to get much whiter. After a couple of years of buying expensive custom-made shoes, they decided to perform surgery on my feet. Turned out I had extra muscle growth, along with something else I don't recall at the moment. My podiatrist told me he submitted a scholarly article on it. May also have been genetic, as when my dad was 3, he developed an extra toe growing out of each one of his big toes. I was diagnosed with leukemia. I got a bacteria growth which killed the leukemia, a real 1 in 1 million chance. I'm allergic to potatoes. Never met someone else who is, so I guess it's 1 in a million. Never eaten chips or fries. I have an unknown type of autosomal dominant intranuclear myopathy. My type of it is so rare that they haven't even seen it before. Getting diagnosed was a multi-year struggle. They pretty much had to rule out everything else. It doesn't feel great to be in this club by myself. Countless blood draws, MRIs, CAT scans, and a biopsy and genetic test. So far, it looks like my father and I are the only ones with it. Yay! When I was a teenager, I had just started working at the local Sears Auto Center Express Lube shop, and on day 1 did a quick orientation and my first oil change. The manager walked away when he felt I was good to go, and the oil change went well. Fast forward a few days later, my manager asked me to come into his office, and he explained that the oil filter I had used had one huge flaw. I didn't know what that was, and it turned out the filter was pressed on backwards into the filter can, and it wouldn't allow oil to flow in, and it damaged the motor. They had to purchase a new motor for the person, and I still kept my job. He said it was a 1 in a million chance that would have happened, and it did on my first oil change. I was born 1 pound and 6 ounces in 1998. Doctors said I had like a 15% chance of surviving or something like that. They also said that if I did survive, I would have been a vegetable. So months pass while I am still forming as a baby. And it's 20 years later and I'm alive and healthy. I can walk, talk, and all the normal things. Only thing really wrong with me is my right eye is hanging on a thread, cause of reasons, and I'm socially autistic. I guess that's 1 in 1 million.